Welcome to the History Story Podcast. Get ready to dive into some seriously wild history. You know we love those stories, the ones that make you go, wait, what? And totally change how you see things.
Absolutely. And this week's historic road trip. Yeah, it's one of those. We're tackling a story so strange, so full of uncanny twists, you'd swear it was made up. Get ready to explore the mind-blowing case of the Jim twins.
For this historic road trip, you guys sent in some amazing history books and uncovered sources all about this crazy case. So what's our mission today? We're going to break down this whole story, lay out the crazy facts, and look at all the different ways people try to make sense of it. By the end, hopefully you'll have a better idea of what's going on with this real-life mystery. Are you ready for some serious wait what moments?
I think it's safe to say there will be a few of those.
Let's just jump right into the deep end with this one. We're talking about two guys, James Arthur Springer and James Edward Lewis, adopted separately as babies just 4 weeks old. Can you imagine the odds of what happened next?
It really does set the stage for an incredible natural experiment, doesn't it? Two people with the exact same genes, but raised in totally different worlds. And the turning point, as you mentioned, is 1979. Jim Lewis, who always knew he had a twin, tracked down James Springer through some court records. It's fascinating that one of them knew and actually went searching for the other.
Almost like some kind of destiny pulling them together. That need to find someone you just know is out there. Then they finally meet, February 9th, 1979, both 39 years old. Can you imagine seeing your own face after all that time? Talk about surreal. And that's just the beginning of this wild ride.
Oh, that first visual shock was just the tip of the iceberg. Once they started comparing their lives, the similarities were unbelievable. It wasn't just looks. It pointed to something much, much deeper going on.
Unbelievable is putting it mildly. This list of coincidences is mind-blowing. First off, both named James by their adoptive parents. What are the chances? Not once, but twice. It makes you wonder what subconscious things were going on with those parents.
It's definitely a striking starting point. Maybe it was some kind of cultural thing back then, or maybe just a wild coincidence. Either way, it gets way crazier.
You're telling me. Both had dogs growing up. Both named Toy. And in school, both were great at math and woodworking, but terrible at spelling, like mirror images even though they'd never even met.
The specifics are what really gets you. It's not just good at some things, bad at others. It's the same things. And then look at their careers. The echoes just keep coming.
Right. This is where it gets really wild. Both worked part-time as sheriff's deputies, in different counties too. Both had fast food jobs. Springer at McDonald's, Lewis something similar. Then later, both ended up working at gas stations or in security. It's like their career paths were running parallel, but completely unplanned. Do you think there could be a gene for certain kinds of jobs, or maybe a shared love of risk?
That's a huge question this case raises. Are we drawn to certain fields because of our genes? And it doesn't stop there. Personal habits, too. Both chronic nail biters. Both had tension headaches, starting around the same age, similar weight fluctuations, smoked the same cigarettes, Salems, and even drove the same type of car. Light blue Chevrolets. It's just similarity after similarity after similarity.
It's enough to make your head spin. And get this. Their love lives followed the same pattern. Both married women named Linda, both divorced, both remarried women named Betty. You couldn't make this stuff up. Makes you think twice about fate and all that.
It really stretches the limits of coincidence, but the one that really gets people talking is their kids. Both named their first sons James Allan. Slightly different spellings, Allan versus Allen, but still. What do you make of that? The same name, generations apart.
That feels way beyond coincidence to me. Like some deeper pattern, something subconscious is influencing things. And even their hobbies were in sync. Both built white circular benches around trees in their yards. How specific and unusual is that? Both loved leaving love notes for their wives. And get this. Both vacation at the same small beach in Paso, Florida, never knowing the other one was there. Like they're drawn to the same places, doing the same things.
It really paints a picture of parallel lives, totally separate but somehow mirroring each other. Now, think about when this happened. Late 1970s, early 1980s. The nature versus nurture debate was huge back then. Everyone thought the way you were raised determined who you became.
Right, so when the Jim twin story exploded, it was a big deal. Here was this undeniable proof that maybe, just maybe, genes played a much bigger role than anyone thought. They were all over the media, on talk shows. Everyone was fascinated.
And their story became central to the Minnesota study of twins reared apart, or MISTRA, led by Dr. Thomas Bouchard at the University of Minnesota. MISTRA used cases like the Jim twins to study twins raised apart, identical and fraternal, to really figure out the impact of genes versus environment. It was a huge undertaking.
Of course, not everyone bought it right away. People wondered if it was just a huge coincidence or if the reporting was biased, focusing on the similarities and ignoring differences, or maybe the categories were too broad.
Those are all valid points. Could it be chance? Are we cherry-picking the data? Are the categories too vague? It's important to be critical, especially with something this extraordinary. But here's the thing. The Jim twins weren't alone. Mistra looked at tons of twin pairs, and they found consistent correlations across all sorts of traits. It wasn't just superficial stuff.
Right, we're talking IQ scores, personality traits, political views, even career interests. The amount of data coming out of Mistra was staggering. It really started to shift the scientific consensus towards recognizing the power of genetics.
And that's the legacy of the Jim twins. They became this landmark case study in psychology and genetics, a powerful example of how genes can influence our lives. Even today, their story is a classic when talking about nature versus nurture.
So let's dive into some of the main theories people have come up with to explain this whole thing. The first, and probably the most accepted, is the power of genetics.
Basically, Mistra's findings.
Exactly. Mistra studied so many twins, and the data consistently showed strong correlations across all sorts of traits, even behavior. The conclusion: genes play a huge role in who we are, in our tendencies and predispositions. The Jim twins are like the poster children for this. Same genes, different environments, incredibly similar lives.
But it's not like genes are a script, right? They don't determine every little thing. More like they set the stage, create tendencies. So maybe they had a gene for a certain personality type that made them likely to choose similar jobs or hobbies even without knowing each other. Exactly. It's influence, not destiny. And the research since then has backed this up. Behavioral genetics, building on Mistra, shows that genes are a major factor in all sorts of human behavior, from personality to preferences.
Now let's look at the other side, the skeptics. Some say it's all just extreme coincidence and selective reporting. It makes sense. Everyone's life has so many details, some overlaps are bound to happen just by chance.
Absolutely. When you have that many variables, some coincidences are statistically inevitable. Plus, we humans love to find patterns. Researchers, the media, even the twins themselves might subconsciously emphasize the similarities and downplay differences.
But look at the Jim twins.
Yeah.
The number of similarities and how specific they are makes just coincidence seem weak. Building the same unusual woodworking project, naming their first sons the exact same name, vacationing at the same obscure beach. Come on.
That's the problem with the coincidence argument. One or two, sure, you could say chance, but so many, so specific. Statistically, it's almost impossible. And Mistra saw these kinds of patterns across multiple twin pairs. It wasn't just the gems.
Then there's the theory of subtle environmental similarities. Maybe even though they were raised in different families, there were underlying similarities in their environments that nudged them in similar directions. Maybe similar socioeconomic backgrounds or cultural values in Ohio back then.
It's definitely possible. Even in different families, there can be similarities. Maybe their looks led people to treat them similarly, shaping their experiences. It's hard to rule that out completely.
And Mistra did try to account for that, right?
Yes, they did. They used questionnaires and interviews to assess the twins' environments, looking for similarities and differences. And even with those differences, the similarities were still striking. So while environment might play a role, it doesn't seem to be the whole story, especially for things like inherent preferences or biological stuff.
Okay, and then there's what you call the Twilight Zone theories, the more out there speculative stuff.
Right. This is where we leave science behind and enter the realm of, well, the unexplained. Things like synchronicity, the idea that meaningful coincidences mean there's some deeper connection we don't understand, or even wilder ideas like simulation theory or psychic links between twins.
You have to admit, there's something about the Jim twins that makes you want to believe those things. It feels like there's something more going on than just genes and environment. It's like a Twilight Zone episode.
It definitely plays on our need to make sense of things that seems to defy logic. While there's no proof for those ideas, they show how the Jim twins make us question what we think we know about the world.
So what about the lasting impact of the Jim twin story? It wasn't just a weird news story. It actually changed things.
Oh, absolutely. It shifted the whole nature versus nurture debate. It legitimized behavioral genetics, showing that genes really matter. It opened up a whole new field of research and challenged what everyone thought they knew.
And it wasn't just scientists. The public was fascinated by the Jim twins, which led to more research on genes and behavior.
Exactly. Mistra was groundbreaking, and the attention it got, thanks in part to the Jim twins, helped secure funding and keep the public interested. It led to better research methods and a much deeper understanding of genetics.
And even adoption policies changed because of them. People started realizing how important sibling bonds are, even for adopted kids.
The Jim twins really showed how strong those genetic connections can be, even when siblings are raised apart. It sparked a movement for more open adoptions and trying to keep siblings together whenever possible.
And culturally, the Gem twins have become this iconic example of extreme coincidence and the power of genes. You see them in textbooks, articles, documentaries, everywhere.
They're like a pop culture symbol for this whole nature versus nurture thing. They make complicated scientific concepts feel real and relatable, and they're in all sorts of books, like Nancy Segal's work, documentaries about twins, and endless conversations about psychology and human nature.
And decades later, their story still captivates us. It makes you think about identity, about free will, how much is predetermined by our genes, and how much is shaped by our experiences and choices.
The Jim twins highlight the complexity of that question. They make us rethink what it means to be an individual and whether we truly control our own destinies. It's not just nature or nurture, it's the intricate dance between the two.
Let's get into some of the lesser-known details about the Gem twins, the stuff that makes this whole thing even weirder and more fascinating.
Right, the deep cuts, as you call them. For example, it was Jim Lewis who started the search. His adoptive mother told him he had a twin, so he contacted the court in Piqua, Ohio, and eventually found the Springers. It wasn't both of them searching at the same time.
And that first meeting, both said they felt instant comfort and familiarity, like they'd always known each other. But also this strange sense of the uncanny, like seeing a ghost of themselves. Jim Lewis even said it was like looking in a mirror. Pretty profound stuff.
It goes way beyond just looking alike. It suggests a deep connection, maybe even some kind of instinctual recognition. And then there's the white circular bench thing. Both of them built the exact same thing around trees in their yards, completely independently. It wasn't just liking woodworking, it was this very specific, unusual project. What are the chances of that happening twice?
And the similarities weren't just skin deep. Their voices and mannerisms were almost identical. They had similar pulse rates, blood pressure, and sleep patterns. Even gained and lost weight at the same times in their lives, all before meeting. And, less exciting but equally telling, they both had hemorrhoids and tension headaches that started around the same age. It's like their shared biology was playing out in sync.
A powerful example of how much genes can influence us. But it's important to remember they weren't clones. They had different personalities, different preferences. Like, they styled their hair differently. And one Jim thought the other's wife, Betty, was a bit quiet. They were still individuals, shaped by their own experiences.
But even the Mr. researchers, who had already studied other twins, were blown away by the Jim twins. It was more than they expected, even knowing the power of genes. It must have been an amazing case to study.
Jim Springer once said that all the similarities were scaring the hell out of Jim Lewis as well as myself. That really captures how unsettling it can be to find someone so similar to you, someone you never knew existed. It makes you question everything about who you are.
And the list just goes on and on. Both loved Miller Lite beer. Both drove Chevrolets. Both smoked Salems. Both loved stock car racing, but hated baseball. Both left love notes for their wives and even misspelled the same words. And remember Paso Grill Beach? They vacationed there all the time, totally unaware that their genetic double was often just a few miles away.
Yeah.
It's the sheer number of these bizarre, specific similarities that makes this story so endlessly fascinating.
Two lives, separated for almost 40 years, yet mirroring each other in the smallest, strangest ways. It's a powerful testament to the influence of our genes, that's for sure.
What an incredible historic road trip. Thanks for sending in all those amazing history books and uncovered sources. The story of the Jim twins really makes you rethink what shapes us as human beings.
It's hard to ignore all those similarities. You have to wonder just how much power our genes have. But environment and chance play a role too. It's the combination of all those factors that makes this case so fascinating.
It really leaves you with so much to think about. What does it mean to be so similar to someone you've never met? Someone who lived a completely different life? Does it challenge what we think about individuality, about free will? It's a lot to process.
It definitely makes you question the whole nature versus nurture thing. It's not a simple answer. The Jim twins show just how complex and fascinating that interplay really is.
And we've only scratched the surface here. If you're as intrigued as we are, check out the resources we've put together based on all those history books and uncovered sources you send in. There are great books by Mr. researchers like Nancy Segal, old news articles, and documentaries about the Minnesota Twins study. There's a lot out there if you want to go deeper.
Those resources can give you a much more in-depth look at this case and at twin studies in general. They explore the research methods and what these findings mean for psychology and genetics. It's a whole rabbit hole to go down if you're interested.
Thanks for joining us on this historic road trip. What are your takeaways from the story of the Jim twins? What questions are you left with? Share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear them.
It's a story that sticks with you, and for good reason. It makes you think about the forces that shape our lives, about what makes us who we are. And sometimes, reality is way stranger and more interesting than anything we could imagine.
And one last thing to think about. If two people raised completely separately can be so similar, what other hidden connections might there be between all of us? Things we don't even realize. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your mind open to the wonders of history.
Absolutely. Keep learning and keep wondering. There are always more amazing stories to discover. See you next time.